Hey there, and welcome to another episode of the Jack Bosch Show. This is part 3 of the New Real Estate Revolution podcast series. In today's episode, we're going to talk about how to select what asset class to get into when. Okay, let's get going. If you watched session number 1 or listened to session number 1 and session number 2 or part 1 and part number 2, you now understand that land and lots is the new American real estate revolution. First of all, there's a few reasons I haven't even talked about, but to summarize the reasons from session 1 and session 2 is, number 1, most of the other asset classes are in trouble right now, and it's not necessarily the best place to go and make money with them right now. The second kind of reason is that the geopolitical, the economic, the demand, the technology, all kind of forces are literally aligning behind land right now. But there's also a couple of more factors that I haven't covered in episode number 2 as of why land is going to be on fire, and actually is already. So reason number 1 is it is already. I've already seen it for the last 3 years. It is just like since COVID, it just doubled, tripled, quadrupled the amount of demand for land. And it's not going away because of the reasons that I already mentioned. But number 2, there's more factors than that. If you look at the actual amount of supply that we have for houses right now compared to demand that's out there, we have less than 2 months worth of house supply available. Now, that has multiple reasons. One of them is that the house owners are locked in 2.5% and 3% mortgage rates. They're not selling unless they have to. So nothing is coming on the market. But at the same time, obviously with higher interest rates, demand is not super huge because at 8% interest rates, not that many people are able to afford a house. But this is about to change. So people are out of money right now, and if that continues on, we're definitely going to hit a recession. And when we hit a recession, the Fed will have to reduce the rates. And what happens when the Fed will reduce the rates? Guess what? Building becomes feasible again. Because right now, at the 8% interest rates that banks charge, most builders have stopped building because with a higher cost of building through inflation, and on top of it with a high interest rate, it is just not feasible to build houses right now. But the moment that's changed, guess what? The builders are going to load up on land again. The builders are going to start building these houses again. And they're going to start building more supply. Now, unfortunately, supply comes with a delay of effect to the market. So it's going to take them 2-3 years to actually build out new development, to build out new neighborhoods and so on. And in that time period, what are they going to buy? Land, guys. So while the house situation is not going to get any better for the next few years, because it takes a while to get to the buying, the entitlement, the permitting process, and then actually putting the houses on the market, all that time, when the interest rates go down, builders are going to buy land. So builders are going to buy infill lots. Builders are going to buy land in the path of growth. And again, that's yet another factor that's driving land. So we are perfectly positioned for land. But again, let's now talk about overall real estate for just a second. It might have come as a surprise to you that the asset class that will be the next American revolution, that next American real estate revolution, the asset class that is perfectly positioned to go to the moon is land. You probably never thought about that in the first place. Well, it goes to an important kind of subject. And that important subject that is, in order to be successful in life as an entrepreneur, you cannot be stubborn. Yes, you need to figure out one kind of way of real estate. You need to figure out that real estate is the way that you want to do. And you need to become the world's best expert in certain kind of areas, or at least really good at it. But you also need to learn to monitor the market and see when is the best area to go into each of these asset classes. Again, as I mentioned before, 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16 was the best time to get into multifamily. Because you could do a full cycle of buying the property, remodeling the property, repositioning the property, filling it back up, renting it, bringing it up to 95% occupancy at market rents. And you could have literally doubled or tripled the value of that piece of real estate and made millions of dollars in the process. That is not happening right now. As a matter of fact, over the last year, a lot of multifamily has probably lost 20% of its value. Office space. I think I'm pretty clear on office space. You have to be extremely creative of what to do with office space. I mean, obviously, if you get it cheap enough, you can always get somebody to rent it for it. But in San Francisco, even if you get it for free, nobody's going to rent it if around the street people are just stealing and there's only homeless people. And many other cities are starting to get that way too. So you got to be really, really careful. So office space is not the place to be right now. And you got to be extremely capital intensive to hold on to these properties and to actually repositioning them into something else. Again, Airbnb, you got to become the world's best operator. You got to basically, you got to hire somebody from the Four Seasons and run that place like a Four Seasons. And if you do, you can succeed in it. But is that you? Is that thing? But again, in land currently, you don't have to do anything. You have to just go get the right pieces of land at the right prices, which there's lots of people who don't want these properties anymore, giving it up for pennies on the dollar. And then you get them under contract and then you become just relatively decent or just find a good realtor and they sell it for you. So with relatively limited expertise, you can take advantage of that. And that is why? Because market forces are working in your favor. In all the other asset classes, market forces are working against you. So you can be successful in the other market forces in spite of the market. But in this asset class of land, you're going to be successful because of the market forces. And that's a big lesson to learn in real estate. So you want it to be positioned for that. But in order to be successful in anything, you got to add a second factor. And that is, to be successful in anything, you need to set a standard of what success looks like for you. In life, they say, and it's a well-known saying, and I absolutely believe it, is that you tolerate whatever your standard is. You're not going to go below that standard, but you're also not going to go above that standard. You always live at the bottom edge of whatever your standards in life are. So you want to live $100,000 a month lifestyle? You want to live $100,000 a year lifestyle? You want to have the beautiful house, the beautiful cars, the beautiful family, the beautiful vacation. You want to have a lot of beautiful things in your life? You got to raise your standards. Because when you raise your standards, and raising your standards comes with changing your identity. Because when you raise your standards and you raise your identity and you become the person that would never tolerate a lifestyle below the $200,000, $500,000, $1 million a year limit, then it's like being a thermostat in your house. Now that sounds weird. What I mean by that is very simply, a thermostat is something that sets the temperature in the room. So if you set your thermostat to 70 degrees, if the temperature in the room goes below 70 degrees, what happens is the heaters kick in and you start heating the room up to 70 degrees. If the temperature in the room goes above 70 degrees, the air conditions start kicking in and you start cooling the room back to 70 degrees. In your life, every single one of you, including myself too, of course, we have an internal financial thermostat. That financial thermostat tells us what we are comfortable with. Not comfortable, what our standard is. We have a set mark, whatever that may be. If your mark is set because if you're a successful, let's say, dermatologist or a successful surgeon, and your standard is $1 million a year, if you have a year that you only make $500,000, guess what's going to happen? You're going to figure out ways to get back to that $1 million because that is your standard. We see that with salespeople a lot. Salespeople have an internal standard of what they want to make. So if a salesperson, let's say car salesperson, has a standard of $50,000 a year, that's what they want to make. And now December comes around and they already earned $60,000. You know what they're going to do in December? Nothing. They're going to take December off. They're not going to sell a single more property because making more money than that is actually uncomfortable to their identity. They identified themselves as a $50,000 a year guy or lady. And if they're all of a sudden making 70, it challenges who they think they are. So as a result, they're not going to do anything, and they're going to just let it go back, and therefore they're going to end the year, in this case, at 60, which is already above what they believe. Same thing if it's November, and they're only at $35,000 for the year. Guess what they're going to do in December? They're going to sell every single freaking car that car dealership has on the lot, and as a result, they're going to end the year at $50,000. So one of the things that you need to do in life is you need to set a new standard. And you need to set that standard for yourself at a level that is beyond what you are comfortable at. Because when you set that standard at twice or three times what you're comfortable at, and you repeat it every single day, I'm not a $100,000 a person kind of guy. I'm a $300,000 person guy. I'm a $300,000 a year kind of guy. I'm a $300,000 a year kind of guy. All you need to do that for the next 30 days, and I guarantee your life will change. Or if you are a $50,000 person, put it to $150,000. If you're already making $200,000, put it at $600,000. And as your subconscious mind starts adopting that new mindset, that new standard, what you will find is that your actions will change. You will start looking for ways that you can make more money. You will start taking actions that make more money. You will start getting promotions in your job because you're going to show up at work differently. And if you apply this to real estate, you're going to start looking around. It's like, man, I'm hitting my head against the wall with this fix and flip here. I'm making 50 grand. I'm losing 150 grand. I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not getting anywhere with this method. And you're going to start, man, I'm hitting my head against this multifamily thing because there's no deals out there right now. I can't do this. And you'll start being open to new kind of strategies. And you start also be interested in learning how these things work together. You start being interested in looking like, which asset class can I use right now to get the most buck or get the most bang for the buck? What do I need to do to make that money that I'm looking to make? And again, as I mentioned, right now, I'm 100,000% convinced, because it's already happening, that land and lots is the new American real estate revolution. All right, before we forget and before you jump off, just very quickly, I actually created the new American real estate revolution playbook, a document that you can download right here and then. Just simply go to rerevolution.com, download it, read it. It's free. There's no strings attached. Get it right now. Read it, which summarizes really everything I talked about in part 1, in part 2, and that actually also gonna already give you a sneak preview in what I'm gonna talk about in part 3 of this podcast. Again, rerevolution.com. Download it right now and be ready to make a ton of money in 2024.